Ronaldo Jacare Souza just fell short of victory in his light heavyweight debut on Saturday, suffering a split decision loss to Jan Blachowicz in the UFC on ESPN Plus 22 main event from Sao Paulo. Jacare performed decently in this fight, by no means the most entertaining or memorable affair. Jacare called it not pretty at the post-fight press conference. I think a lot of people would agree with that assessment, but he came close to beating a top-ranked contender in the light heavyweight division, and for that he definitely deserves some credit. But you do wonder what the future holds for him coming out of this result. He is 39 years old and for the first time in his career has back-to-back losses on his record, despite whether or not he thought or you thought that he deserved the nod in this fight. That is what the record shows on paper, and there was a lot of doubt for him coming into this fight. Had he been motivated to continue fighting, he talked about some own personal doubts and whether he was able to get through them. But coming into the press conference, after the fight, I expected him to be a lot more down or maybe negative about his future, but he seemed quite positive about the fact that he was able to come into this fight seemingly with a controversial camp, having to go on antibiotics at one point, and was able to get in there and go 5 rounds against a guy ranked as highly as Blachowicz, and it seemed to give him some positive outlook about his future. So I will assume he is going to compete again, and I think there is some interesting matchup at light heavyweight. I don't think in this fight it showed he doesn't belong in this weight class. I think his skill set transferred over decently. He wasn't able to get Blachowicz down and work his ground game, but I think there are some other fighters in this weight class he could potentially do that against. I don't think he's going to get another opportunity to fight a top 5, 6, 7 ranked guy like Blachowicz in his next fight, especially considering the loss, but light heavyweight is thin, we all know that, and there is some interesting fights he could get that are still within the top 15. And I'd like to see a matchup between Jacare and Misha Cirkunov. I think Misha Cirkunov, a guy who is sitting towards the 15 side of the top 15 rankings, but is an interesting guy who's had an up and down run in the UFC himself, but he is coming off a spectacular Peruvian necktie submission win in his last fight, and he is a guy that would probably be somewhat willing to go to the ground with Jacare if it came to there. I think their striking would be interesting as well, and for Jacare, if he is interested in making another run or trying to do something real in this light heavyweight division, if he could come in there and beat a guy like Cirkunov and get back on track, get a win in this weight class, he could try to start building some momentum going forward. And then of course on the flip side, for Cirkunov, getting a win like Jacare even at this point in his career would be meaningful for him going forward. So I think coming off this loss to Blachowicz in Sao Paulo, that's the fight to make, is Jacare versus Misha Cirkunov.